I developed the I'm going to leave you before you leave me mentality. That's the type of daddy issues that I got. I don't have the daddy issues that, oh, I'm going to fight for you. If you end up with another girl, I'm going to fight for you. If you tell me that another woman is in your reality, I am leaving you. I think I'm just about over being your girlfriend. I'm leaving. I'm still healing. What's up, guys? It's your girl Jaleesa. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. If you're new here, thanks for clicking on the video. Be sure to subscribe to the channel because you don't want to miss what I have coming up next. And if you are a repeat offender, welcome back, tribe. Sending you much love. So as you can tell by the title of the video, Diary of a Fatherless Child. I named my channel Authentically Jaleesa, and every time that I sat down to film this video, I didn't feel like I was being authentic with you guys. I didn't feel like I was being real about daddy issues. I felt like I was just trying to give you like blanket information just to kind of like spill out some content for you. But realistically, when we're talking about any type of wound, the mother wound or the daddy wound, you have to get deep. You have to really speak about it, especially as a woman. I feel like the daddy issue stigma, especially in the media, just like sexuality, hypersexuality. If you see a girl and she's on the internet and she's shaking her ass, or she's half dressed or dressed provocatively, then that's fatherless behavior. She's very abusive towards men. You want to throw the term daddy issues on at these women. And I think for a long time, I kind of ran away from the idea of daddy issues because of the shame that I felt around it. And I think that a lot of women can identify with that. I know that society is not nice to women. Y'all already know how that goes. You cannot blame women for having daddy issues because we were not the people who gave us the issues. Ultimately, it's the parents' shortcoming that were pushed onto the child that produced these daddy issues. Before I went to therapy, this idea of daddy issues started and stopped with relationships. I just thought that daddy issues had to do with why none of my relationships worked out, why I was attracting emotionally unavailable partners, why I was displaying abusive behaviors towards men. That's all I really knew about daddy issues. And I think a lot of people only know about that as well. But it wasn't until I went to therapy and I sat down with somebody, I really started to realize how daddy issues was pouring into other areas of my life. And I wanted to share this with you guys because I know that I'm not the only self-aware baddie that likes to kind of get to the root of the issues of the things that I'm dealing with, so that way I become the best version of myself. My journey to, I guess, becoming a self-aware baddie, when I went to therapy, one of the main things that we discussed was my relationship with my parents. My father only lived with us for a little bit of time, and in the time that he did live with us, it was very emotionally charged. It was a pretty chaotic environment whenever he was around. I felt like almost every time my father did come around, chaos would ensue, almost to the point where every time he did come around, I would get so much anxiety in my body. And when I unpacked this with my therapist, she said that because my father was so unpredictable in his behavior, I have developed these coping mechanisms to get through life and had been harming me up until this point. So let's just start with the basics. What even is daddy issues? What is the father wound? And that can just be described as the absence of emotional connection from a father to a child that only a father can provide. Now I know that there's a couple different scenarios that people can go through, whether your father just wasn't around, period, you never knew him, whether your father died at a really young age, maybe, whether your father, like mine, was in and out of your life, was abusive, anything of that nature. If you guys were not able to have an emotional or physical connection, then you possibly identify with having daddy issues. If you do a little research, daddy issues can affect a lot of things in your life. It can affect your self-esteem, your confidence, your motivation, your trust, allow you to develop having a fear of intimacy, a fear of affection, a fear of rejection, which I think a lot of people deal with, abandonment issues, which I dealt with, anger issues, anxiety, bouts of extreme depression, and of course, attracting unhealthy relationships, chasing after emotionally unavailable partners, etc., etc. So now that y'all know the basics, let me just say how daddy issues has affected me. The name of the channel is Authentically Jaleesa. So Jaleesa is about to be very authentic with you and honest with you about who Jaleesa was before therapy and before identifying the fact that daddy issues was playing a part in why my life was going the way that it was. As I'm in therapy, I'm speaking to my therapist and she's asking me, all of these targeted questions about like how different areas of my life is going. Asking me questions about friendships and she's asking me questions about my work life. And I'm like, what does that have to do with the daddy issues? Daddy issues is related to relationships, right? Like I keep seeking out men that's like my father. And then she said, well, do you feel worthy of the success that you have right now? Bitch, what do you mean? What are you talking about, miss? I don't know what you're talking about. And here she is unpacking that my imposter syndrome is linked to my daddy issues. Is that even a thing? In fact, it was a thing. And it was in those conversations that I had with my therapist that she let me know that the daddy wound will allow you to feel like you're not good enough. And I mean for anything. Because at the root of it, I grew up thinking that it was my fault that my father wasn't around. I'm not smart enough. I'm not pretty enough. I'm not interesting enough. I'm just not enough for him to want to have a relationship with me. And it created this thing called the stuck point. She said, you may think that it's just linked to relationships. You don't think that you're worthy of relationships, but here you are self-sabotaging friendships because subconsciously you don't believe that you are worthy of them. Here you are self-sabotaging business opportunities because you don't feel worthy of them. You don't feel like you're good enough, not only for relationships, but for life in general. Like, all right, miss, like this is a bit too much. I know this is what I pay you for, but it's getting too deep. And it's just about to get deeper. I've always been like a daydreamer. I've always had big dreams and goals and things that I've seen for myself. And I found myself with these big goals and with these big dreams and really, really wanting to go after them. And I'm not gonna lie to y'all, this might sound a little boastful, if you will, but I succeed at everything that I actually do. It is what it is. It's not really much that I can't do that I won't get good results from if I put effort towards it, right? But whenever I did get to a certain level of success, I would run away. I'm talking relationships, I'm talking jobs, I'm talking friendships, I'm talking anything, working out. Like once I reach a certain plateau, I would stop. And I'm trying to figure out like, why can't I be consistent? Like, obviously I'm successful. Obviously I'm talented. Obviously I can do this. What is stopping me from doing this? I don't feel good enough for it. I don't feel like I'm worthy of this. I don't feel like this is for me. It can't be. If a person doesn't feel worthy of something, they're gonna self-sabotage. What we don't realize is that self-worth is very important. As a young woman, they always say that, your dad is your first love. The first man that's gonna tell you that you're pretty, you're worthy, to show you all of the things that you deserve. Looking back and I'm realizing that I didn't have that. Father showed me time and time again that I wasn't worthy. I would call, he would be too busy. Whenever I would want to spend time, he wasn't really interested in spending time. Whenever I would need something from him, he would not come through for me. So as a child, I just connected the dots of it's me. I'm not worthy of. He doesn't want to give it to me. I carried that burden for years and years into my friendships, into my relationships, into my business, everything that I wanted to do, the goals and the dreams that I seen for myself. I just knew I'm not worthy of it. Even though everything around me is showing me that I'm being successful, even though people are validating me, people are saying, yo, Jay, you so good at this. I don't believe it because it was not instilled in me at a very young age. I didn't have that confidence. If anything, I almost had the opposite. I grew up with a father that was pretty critical. My father has never given me a compliment in my life. So like when I hear compliments now, I don't believe it because like, what are you saying? If my own father couldn't see it in me, then I know you're not seeing it in me. So here I am looking at myself through the lens of what I believe that my father was looking at me through. But the issue with that is you also have to realize that your parents are their own people. It was in therapy that I realized that my father was also dealing with his own daddy issues. It was getting in the way of him being the best father that he can be. So everything that was poured onto him, he now poured onto me. And it took about 26 years for me to get to that point. So as a 23-year-old or as a 22-year-old or a 19-year-old dealing with the burden of I'm not worthy, I'm not good enough. I am afraid of the rejection that I know is coming. Anytime that I did even try to share success with my father, I was met with rejection. That's what I was anticipating from the world, from my lovers, from my friends, from my family, from my jobs. I was anticipating that rejection. I didn't even want to think that I was good enough because then if I was wrong, I couldn't deal with the weight of again not being enough for the world. In that weight of feeling like I'm not good enough, my motivation would just go down. So even though I have these goals, I have these dreams, I see a life for myself, I'm not motivated anymore because I don't feel validated. I don't have the support. This innate fear of failure. We're having a conversation about wanting to be successful. Failure comes with success. But I also felt like if I was going to be a failure, then I would be validating that idea in my mind that I'm not enough. And I already think that I'm not. So why even try? If you happen to venture out and do something and it doesn't go the way that I want to, I'm automatically just going to quit, because a structure that a dad is supposed to give was not instilled in me. When you find a child first start being able to learn how to walk, the mom who is more nurturing and emotional, she's gonna be like, oh, don't fall, don't fall. Like, my baby, I'm here to catch you if you fall. But the dad, that structure and that like drive and that motivation is gonna be like, no, don't worry about it. She can do it, he can do it. You let her go out and fall a couple times, she'll get back up. So I didn't have that. I didn't have the paternal energy, which was like, keep going, keep trying. We know that at a young age, our parents' voices become our inner critic. So my inner critic was very critical. My inner critic was like, you can't do it, you're not worthy. And it just poured out into everything that I had going on. I often felt very conflicted because, like I said, I always seen myself as successful. I always knew that I had something in me, and I felt that. But when my inner voice was saying that you're not enough, why are you even trying? You're not worthy, nobody likes you. That conflict will cause a person to freeze. And that's where depression comes in, at that freeze, like that. I don't know what to do. I'm conflicted. I don't feel like I can do anything, so I'm not going to do anything at all. So now, y'all, let's speak fear of intimacy and fear of vulnerability, which are huge daddy issues in men or women, but I'm speaking to the ladies today. Growing up, I lacked intimacy with my dad. My dad was not an affectionate person. I'd often speak life into me, and I believe that's because he couldn't speak life into himself. More so worried about himself than he was with me. So I grew up believing that I wasn't that important anyway. You feel like you're not important, you can't really be intimate with a person, because intimacy is allowing a person to see all parts of yourself. But if I don't believe that I'm that interesting or that I'm important anyway, I don't really know what to share with you. I don't know how to let you in. I don't know what to do to allow you to know who I am, because I'm not used to that. That wasn't the foundation that I have. The foundation that I have was I pretty much played the part of a therapist for my father. He would call me, and instead of like, checking on me, like, hey, how are you? How's things going? And allowing me to open up to him, he would often emotionally dump on me and tell me everything that he had going on in his life and all of his shortcomings and everything about him. I carried that throughout my life. And I kind of wore that as a badge of honor. Like, yeah, everybody comes to me and tells me their problem. I'm the strong friend. Yes, I am the therapist friend, until I would be feeling depressed. If I'm supposed to be the strong friend, but I don't have anything to give to the people around me, and I also don't know how to be vulnerable and tell people like, yo, I need help, like I'm drowning right now, I would often withdraw from the people around me, because that's what was easier. I feel like I got good results from my caretakers whenever I would just like disappear and not bother them with my issues. They were happiest when I wasn't telling them that I needed help or that I needed emotional support. So I felt like the people around me would feel the same way. Another sign of daddy issues is fear of vulnerability. I didn't know how to be vulnerable with the people around me and say, I'm not doing good right now. So instead, my pattern was that I would often disappear until I felt better. And I would often mask it with like, I got a lot going on right now. And I found that I was pushing away the support that was given to me, because I wasn't used to support, used to figuring things out by myself. In therapy, I realized that hyper independence is actually a trauma response, because your caretakers did not support you the way that you needed to growing up. Until this point, my pattern was to be avoidant. Whenever I started feeling big emotions, I would just withdraw from whatever situation was making me feel these big emotions. And in that was self-sabotage. Me walking away from friends that really wanted to be close to me was me sabotaging the relationships and the friends that I prayed and I asked God for. And then when I would be lonely, it would validate the fact that I wasn't good enough, or that I was not enough for the people around me. Well, in all actuality, I was just pushing them away. And I think a lot of people deal with that I'm the issue, this is why it's happening, but it's not really what it is. Like, it's not like you're the issue. Your pattern is the issue, because you may very well well have people around you that want to support you, that want to be close to you. But if you have a fear of intimacy and a fear of vulnerability, then there's almost this block of you not being able to receive what it is that you are longing for. All right, y'all, so let's talk relationships. And this is a big one when it comes to daddy issues. I think it's very important to realize that our parents serve as our first example of things. So you always hear that a dad is a woman's first love. So if my first love was emotionally manipulative, abusive, and out of my life, inconsistent with me, invalidating of my reality and of my feelings, then naturally I am seeking out partners that reflect that back to me, because that's the only thing that I'm comfortable with. Subconsciously, I was only ever accepting, because it's not that that's only what I was attracting. And I think that's very important to this conversation, because I do believe that we attract a lot of different things. The beliefs that I had around myself, especially when it came to romantic relationships, were the same beliefs that I picked up around my father. So I didn't think that I was pretty enough for men, interesting enough, smart enough. I just didn't think that I was enough for men. Even if there was a man that came to me that was trying to give me all of these things and show me the good life, I'm not really interested in you. But for the man that I had to work for their love, I feel like I always had to work for my father's love. I feel like I always had to prove myself to my father just to get like an ounce of just like love back, just a little drop of love from my father. So if you did not reflect that back, if you didn't make me work for your love, then I don't even believe that it's real. You had to almost not even like me, because that's what I felt. I felt like my father didn't like me. So I was recreating that, because in my mind, my inner child was running the show. My inner child wanted to get my father to love me. My inner child wanted to prove herself. So if I'm going and I'm looking for romantic relationships, I'm looking for men that were giving me the opportunity to prove myself. Just realizing that I was enough on my own. I was pretty enough. I was interesting enough. I was worthy enough to not have to work for love. And I feel like when we are talking about daddy issues in men and women, because I've seen this happen in men and women, where like you will be presented with a couple different opportunities, but the only ones that you take serious are the ones that make you work for it. And those are often the most toxic, unhealthy connections that I've been in, where it was with men that I was just like, oh my God, you're making me chase after you? Yeah, please do that. Oh my God, you're inconsistent? Yeah, I love it. Because if I can get you to love me at the end of all of this, then boom, now I know that I'm worthy, because I got you to love me, right? The same way I wasn't able to get my dad to love me, but if I can get you to love me, then I'm worthy. There were options in front of me that didn't make me work for it, but it seemed too good to be true. And that's where my trust issues came. I didn't trust myself to go after the more healthier decision. I always had to go after unhealthy decisions so that way I can prove myself. A symptom of daddy issues is this innate desire to prove yourself to everyone around you, because you have this deep feeling of inadequacy, because you have a void that was not filled by your paternal father figure. If we're talking about attachment styles, I often had an anxious attachment style in relationships. I would come off as clingy and I would come off as needy. At the root of it all, I was looking for these men to be my father. I think a lot of times when you push so much onto people, they end up running away. And again, that creates that self-fulfilling prophecy, because at some point you have to be able to be self-efficient, not hyper independent, but self-efficient. Get some of your own needs met, stand up on your own 2 feet. And for a while, I wasn't really displaying that in my relationship. So men would kind of like give me a little bit of space because I was pushing too much onto them. And that reflected back to me like, see, I knew I wasn't worthy. When in all actuality, I'm just asking that man to do too much, baby. He's just a man. Like, he's just a man. He is not your daddy. He cannot do all of that. But anyway, okay, guys, we're at the end of the video. So I'm going to give you guys some tips that my therapist gave me to help me kind of overcome my daddy issues and allow me to be the self-aware baddie that you see sitting in front of you right now. The first step is to acknowledge that you have the wound. Like I said in the beginning of the video, I was very ashamed. I felt like I was being judged harshly, and I probably was, because society judges women harshly for things that we really shouldn't be taking responsibility for. But I had to just acknowledge and accept the fact that, yes, girl, you have daddy issues. So the first step is to acknowledge that you have the wound. Acknowledge it, say it, stand in the mirror, write it down, journal it. I have daddy issues, and move on from there. The first step to recovery is to admit that there is a problem. Second step that really helped me was to validate your own feelings. Now, if you have an issue validating your emotions or validating your feelings or identifying emotions or feelings, I suggest that you look up the emotion wheel. Put a link for one in the description below. I realized that some of the emotions that I thought that I had were just blanket emotions for other emotions that I was really dealing with. And when you're not able to identify or give your emotions names, it's hard for you to heal from them because you cannot heal what you cannot feel. I think that I'm feeling anger when I'm really feeling sadness, you know? So validate your feelings, validate your emotions. However you feel towards your father, validate that, accept that. Angry at my dad, I'm disappointed at my dad, I feel bad for my dad. Whatever it is, validate those feelings. Understand that having those feelings are okay, because the more you try to suppress them, the more they have power over you and they start pouring out into different areas of your life. The next one, you have the resources, go to therapy. Babe, go to therapy. Go to therapy. Please go to therapy. Therapy really has helped me in not only being able to voice the way that I feel and to get validation for the things that I feel, but also to give me like this toolbox that I can go into whenever the feelings will arise. Because therapy is not just going to diminish all of your feelings, it's just going to help you deal with them. It's going to help you get over them so that way you're not sitting in it and you're not dealing with the depression for long periods of time, or allowing the anxiety to get to you, or allowing your pattern to continue on in your life, which will add to depression and anxiety around things in your life. So therapy, counseling, and I'm not talking about friends or family. I'm talking about a licensed professional, baby. Get the help. Next, meet your own needs. I spoke about this earlier in the video where I was kind of trying to make men show up in ways for me that my father didn't, that I did have the capacity to do for myself, but I wanted them to do it so that way I can feel worthy. Show yourself worthy, love. If you want that man to pay for your nails, just get your nails done. Like, if you want him to take care of you, pamper yourself. I feel like men are more inclined to do things for you when you do it for yourself, especially quality men. Otherwise, they may feel like you're trying to be like a little gold digger or feel like you're trying to take advantage of them. Now, I'm not going to get into relationship advice. It's enough of that on social media. That's not my niche. I will say that I have attracted more quality men once I got out of that victim mentality of, oh, I need a man to save me. Oh, I need a man to do this, that, and the third for me. When you are a victim, I feel like you attract victims, and I don't want no victims. I want someone that's standing in their power, so I show up in my power. Period. Meet your needs, emotional needs. We're gonna talk about emotional regulation in the mommy wounds video, but work on your emotions, love. Like, every man ain't gonna deal with the fact that you got anger issues. Like, work on them anger issues, because you're not really mad at that man, baby. You mad at your daddy. So meet your own needs. Self-care is key. Communication skills, all of that good jazz, because you deserve exactly what it is that you want. But if you're gonna just make people do it for you, then you're gonna push people away. I'm sorry, that's just how that works. Specifically saved this one for last because I know this is a tough one. It was tough for me, and it's something that I'm still dealing with to this day. But you need to forgive your dad. You have to forgive your father for the ways that he fell short. You have to forgive your father for not showing up. You have to forgive your father for disappointing you. You have to forgive your father for not being the father that you wanted him to be. You have to forgive your father for abusing you. You have to forgive your father for not validating you. The longer you hold on to resentment, the longer you hold on to what you feel towards him, the longer it will affect your life. I promise you, your pattern will continue because you're not learning the lesson. Forgiveness. All right, y'all, that was a lot, but that is the video. Thank you for sticking in there with me, guys. This was a tough one to make. I hope that you enjoyed this video. I hope that you found some type of validation. You are able to utilize some of the advice that I outlined in this video to allow you to be the best version of yourself and to overcome these wounds, because they don't have to be your identity. Your issue does not have to be your identity. But guys, that is the video. Thanks for hanging in there with me. Make sure that you are liking and subscribing to the channel. I have way more videos coming for you guys, and I'm excited for you to go on this journey of self-awareness and healing and inspiration with me. So I will see you guys in the mommy wounds video. Make sure that you are subscribed. Comment down below if this video helped you or how you have identified, dealt with daddy issues in your life. I would love to hear your point of view. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.